This is a Commonplace book, or more specifically, a Commonplace binder, because it's a Commonplace book in a binder. Wow. So this is, of course, the Commonplace binder playlist. We're going to be talking about the wisdom of an ancient second brain. So, obviously, the people who lived 100 or 1,000 or even longer ago, 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago, or maybe even longer than that, obviously, they knew way better than us about everything. I don't know. Now, you could argue that when people do not transfer anything outside of their brains, and they have to think through everything, it might be that their brains actually work better. Could also be that they experience information overload. But if we have somebody living in, like, Iceland, there's not a lot going on. So it might be that some monks or some Vikings or somebody chilling up there is literally chilling, like they're frozen. There's nothing to do. They chop down the forest. Maybe a polar bear shows up, like nothing is happening. So it might be that someone living in an isolated area, only focused on their Commonplace book, has the secret knowledge. I don't know. I feel like someone at the top level of today's standard who has access to the internet and, the information of everyone who's ever lived, whose information has been recorded, probably has a higher maximum capacity. Now, we might have a lower capacity as well. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we have things that exist in the exact same way as they did before. I don't know. Maybe you should create a living fossil. Maybe you should create something the exact same way. An actual Commonplace book, not a Commonplace binder. A Commonplace book. It just goes in the notebook. Everyone always had notebooks, right? Not really. But yeah, if you create something that basically works for you, and it works for your relatives, and it works for everybody else, it's going to work forever, right? Well, we kind of have a lot of things happening right now, which make the future rather uncertain. And in these periods of information overload, sometimes people will try alternative methods. Now, as I'm saying this, I believe the terminology I used was very similar to actually a government video from a group about learning English. I think it was like an English teacher thing. So hopefully nobody gets mad about that. But yeah, if you create a living fossil, maybe you can pass that down to your relatives, because I don't know who's really going to want Auntie Marjorie's notes. They might look cool. I don't know. But, if it's more than 20 years out of date, it's probably not going to be so good. Like, I have a relative who's over 100 years old, and I'm very happy for him that he made it that long. But if that guy gives me business advice when he retired literally 50 years ago, it's probably going to be pretty bad. Not because it was bad then, but, it's just, the world has changed. Like a lot. Yeah, high level stuff. So if you want to have a high level of this sort of create a living fossil thing in my next playlist, more than 80 videos from now, I'm going to be talking about how I think it'd be cool for schools to create something like this. So basically, every student would get a binder filled with all the information of a high-performing student from the year before. Yeah, I think that would be pretty useful, because if we just cut the graduating class in half, not cutting the people, not doing anything to their degrees or anything, but I'm saying if we grab the top half of performers, and we just copy their stuff, give it to 2 different people coming in, eventually we will have some pretty high quality information, but it will be fairly indistinguishable from the information before. Don't know if I used that word right. High level stuff for me is high level words that I can't always spell. But we're going to move on to better results, because that's what we want. We want to get better results. And so will you get better results if you use somebody else's Commonplace book? I'm going to say no. It's kind of like, will you know more about yourself if you use somebody else's diary? Now, maybe you will, because maybe what will happen is you'll look through the stuff and you'll realize, this is well curated and it's stuff that I haven't thought about before. So I'm gonna look through this. I'm gonna find some cool stuff. At the same time, though, you're maybe not gonna get better results from that. Just like you're maybe not gonna get better results from something from 100 years ago. At the same time, you might, because it might be that something was worded in a way, which is crazy now. Like it might be, you know what? We should create a giant free institution where we just build buildings all around the United States, and we fill them with free materials, and we give them to people regardless of their socioeconomic background. And like you could just you could describe libraries or a fire department or like so many different things that probably wouldn't get made now. Not because they're bad, not because, we don't need to go into that. Cottage core academia, yeah, we're cottage academia vibes. We're gonna go into the woods, and we're not gonna worry about all this modern stuff, and it's gonna be lovely. Except all the social media can actually get to the cottage now. And the land prices are insane. So you could move to the cottage in a place where it's cheap. But that's probably in a place where there are hurricanes, or it's a desert, or there's a fire hazard. So the cottage, if you got lots of money, go nuts, I guess. But for most of us, this is a meme. Like, that's not even a dream. That's just a meme. Like, that's made up. Less busy. Will you be less busy if you live in a cottage? Maybe. You might have to do a lot more stuff. I don't know. Maybe it takes longer to get to the grocery store. Maybe the stuff doesn't get delivered directly to your house or apartment. That might be kind of annoying. But it's more personal. Because you're doing it yourself. It's like getting the IKEA furniture. I've never actually gotten IKEA furniture. I did get a piece of furniture a few months ago that I put together myself. I was pretty happy about that. I was like, yeah, I made a cabinet. Then I looked at it, and then I looked at my room, and then I looked at the cabinet, and I realized, I think I got the wrong size. It's fine. But it's not really made for my space. How is it not made for my space? No. How do we get wisdom out of an ancient second brain? Well, first you have to get one. And where are you going to get one from? Because unless, like I said earlier, we're passing them down from parent to child, or teacher to student, or maybe student to student. Where are you getting this? Are you just going into museum? Like, where are you getting the ancient second brain? So, how is it valuable? Kind of depends. If you want to get into the specific mind of a person who died a long time ago, maybe the book is the way to go. Maybe that is their second brain. But language changes over time, so it might be that you use a certain word in one decade and it means something totally different in the next. That might be kind of a problem. Like, we're always renaming things. Like, is it the Persian Gulf or the Arabian Gulf? It might depend on who you talk to. It might depend on which era of history they're from. So, the ancient second brain will keep track of that sort of information. But if you live in a place that's holding on to one idea of history, and you're challenging it with another one, like, that might be good for the world, but how do you know that this one wasn't a government narrative, or a religious narrative, or any other organization that was simply pushing their agenda? Like, it's the further back you go, the harder it's going to be. Of course, the less refined their system is probably going to be, because they haven't accumulated all the knowledge over time, or, split off from a larger, more established institution. But I don't know. What I do know is we have to keep creating. We have to keep making stuff. How do you feel about this, by the way? I've been creating a little bit of a variety of text types. You know, look at my writing. It looks different in some places. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how you feel about that, so please let me know in the comments down below. Hoarding reduction. So I don't think this was used as a hoarding reduction strategy. For me, it definitely was. So after school, even though I didn't get to inherit a living fossil, I did have a little bit of a hoarding problem. So I had a lot of objects, and then I took pictures of them and wrote down information on sheets of paper, and I felt pretty happy because I got rid of a bunch of trash. And then I needed to convert the paper into digital stuff, so that way I could get rid of the paper. And so, in a way, turning everything into paper and then turning the paper into digital stuff has been incredibly helpful and has prevented me from having a hoarding problem, which is great because I definitely know some relatives who, you know, collect popsicle sticks. So, we gotta grab all the things. We need them. But I don't anymore. That's great. I do need my 1,000 thoughts. No, I have way more than 1,000 thoughts. I feel like you've noticed in this video, I have definitely shared some random ideas. They're not necessarily top of mind all the time. I still have the whiteboard from last time, or the time before, just sitting here, because this is my third video I'm recording in a row. So I have probably, by the end of this video, been talking for about, I don't know, an hour? And this is the third one, so we're gonna have a little bit more after that. Actually, yeah, okay. So we did creating, a hoarding reduction, 1,000 thoughts. Time to organize the section. So if you have the 1,000 different sections, I feel like somebody's knocking my door, actually. There's no movement. There's no additional knocking, so I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Okay. That was weird. That totally broke my train of thought. So we did less busy, more personal, how, keep, creating, hoarding reduction, 1,000 thoughts. So, I don't know what happened outside my door. But we're going to get back to the video. So, what do you do with your 1,000 thoughts? Well, hopefully, you categorize them. Organize them into sections. Now, you could just have them all over the place, but you're probably going to want to organize them somehow. So one way that I like to do this is by time. So I like to sort things based on the month that they were in, you know, like month and year. That's it. I don't really worry about the specific day on which the thing happened. But I'll grab the stuff from the month. I'll put it all in one place. I might consolidate that a little bit, might mix it up a little bit. But generally speaking, I like to keep the months as blocks. So that way it's pretty easy to figure out when I was thinking something, what I was thinking, and, you know, how to find it in the future. Based on projects, that is the other way I categorize the things. So I categorize them based on time, and I categorize them based on the project that they belong to. So one of the funny things about projects is they're a thing that needs to get done, and they're a thing that gets worked on. So like this channel is a project for me. And I gotta work on it. And that's cool. But yeah, is that wise? I don't know. It would be wise to turn on the monitor, so I'll be right back. Yeah, so it was wise to turn on the monitor, because now we have lights again. But wisdom. What are we doing with the wisdom of an ancient second brain? Well, wisdom created part of the title. Might have been based on second brain. Might have been ancient. I don't know. But yeah, we've got our wisdom. And so if we collect all the information, we are going to become wise, right? I don't know if it works like that. You know, just because someone has information doesn't mean they're wise. Just because someone's old doesn't mean they're wise. Like, those things do help a lot of the time, but not necessarily. And so you might find some quotes, which actually mean different things now, which still actually help you out. Maybe because you speak the ancient language. Maybe you know Latin. You know. Maybe this is the place of La Lengua Latina, but I don't know. Well, that's a new one. Wow. Yeah, so this is the wisdom of the ancient second brain. So I just knocked a bunch of this stuff off. That hasn't happened before, so it might be that these new note cards, yeah, so these are different than all of these, and that one, which is its own separate thing, but it might be that this new set just kind of flies off. Or it could be I hit it at the perfect angle, and then the stuff flew off. So it's not really socially acceptable to have all my stuff flying all over the place in a video, so I will try to do better for that. I will try to do better with that. Maybe, if I had the wisdom we were talking about earlier, wouldn't have made such a magnificent error. But yeah, is it socially acceptable to work on an ancient second brain? Not where I live. Not at all. Oh, man. But enough about me and my stuff. What are you going to do with this? What are you, like, are you going to impress people? Are you going to, is it research documents? Do you want to create a framework for, like, modern society? Like, what are you going to do with this? I feel like I'm going crazy. Because every time I record, you know, there's somebody, like, knocking on my door, like, please let me be in the video. Except they don't want to be in the video. They like, run. But I say I'm recording and then they knock. So, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, if you go through an ancient second brain, you might also not know what's going on because it's ancient. Also, you know, second brain, that's feels a little bit clickbaity, but you know, basically like the brain outside of someone's head where they keep all their notes. So like this is kind of my brain when it comes to my notes on how to make a video. And I partially don't know how to make a video without this. Kind of like how I partially don't know how to make a video without this. I could still do it, I guess. Might be going crazy if I try to do that solo, though. So this is where writing becomes very useful. So writing is, I think, a human invention. Might be there's another species that writes. I don't know about that, though. I know there are a whole bunch of different species that do random human-related things. People are like, what makes them the most human? I don't really care. You could write about that if you want, but, like, I don't find that super relevant. So in the modern era, it might be that we figure out how to communicate with dogs through the use of AI or something. Yeah, that's not really how the ancient second brain works. In fact, there were some of the ancient people who decided not to write things down, not because they couldn't write things down, but they didn't want their words to be recorded because it is a little weird to have, like, part of your brain just, like, bloop, like, taken out. That wasn't the right sound effect, but getting a little distracted. All I know is you should start. You should start a Commonplace book. You should start a Commonplace binder. If you don't have one already, please consider making one. I know this one was kind of a mess. It's probably going to have lots of edits. I think there was somebody knocking on my door. I don't know. I knocked the stuff on the ground. That's never happened before. Or if it did, it was a long time ago and I don't remember it. But what I do know is you should start. And I hope you remember that. If you take anything away from this video, just, you should start a Commonplace binder. And yes, that is the subject of the next video, so if you're feeling very generous, maybe you'll consider checking that out. But if it's time to get a snack, use the bathroom, do that thing you were supposed to do, I would definitely say get that done first. So, thank you for watching. I hope you have 1,000 thoughts on this. I hope you're not going crazy. Oh, goodbye.